Good morning, everyone. In the last class, we have seen the structure of ionosphere. The main layers in ionosphere are D, E, F1, and F2 during daytime, and E and F during nighttime. This property of ionosphere is used for long distance communication. So today, we are going to study more about skywave propagation or the ionospheric propagation, which uses the property of ionosphere to reflect back the transmitted electromagnetic wave, so that range of communication is very high compared to ground wave and space wave propagation. Okay, space wave propagation. We have seen that you will get only a line of sight communication. That is, the maximum range is limited by the curvature of the Earth. In the skywave propagation, we have an advantage that the curvature of Earth is not limiting the range of communication. Please see the diagram given. So we can see that the transmitter is located here, the receiver is located here. We can see that it is not within the line of sight. So the transmitter is transmitting an electromagnetic wave, and it is going towards the sky, and it is getting reflected from the ionosphere, and it reflects back to the receiver. So we can see that the range is very high. So one important thing is that skywave propagation is only between around 2 megahertz to 30 megahertz. So it's mainly in the HF region. HF region, we have studied earlier that HF is coming in 3 to 30 megahertz. So the skywave propagation is mainly in the HF region and in some part of the MF region. So this electromagnetic wave reaches the receiver after reflection from the ionosphere. The ionosphere acts like a reflecting surface and is able to reflect back the electromagnetic waves of frequencies between 2 to 30 megahertz. The electromagnetic waves of frequencies greater than 30 megahertz, that is VHF, UHF, microwave frequencies, etc., are not reflected back from the ionosphere. Rather, they penetrate through the atmosphere. So we have seen in the last class that VHF is coming in 30 to 300 megahertz and UHF 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz, and the microwave frequencies in the gigahertz region. So VHF, UHF, and microwave and above frequencies are not reflected back, and we cannot use for skywave propagation. So it is limited to HF and some part of MF. So by using the skywave propagation, we can achieve extremely long distance, that is round the globe communication, by multiple reflection of the skywave. The signal received due to skywave propagation are subjected to fading. In which signal strength varies with time. It is because at the receiving point, a large number of waves which follow different paths is received. So phase wave and ground wave propagation are limited to curvature of the Earth. So these modes cannot be used for long distance communication. But as the skywave, we have seen that it is using the property of ionosphere to reflect back the electromagnetic wave. So we can have long distance communication with the use of skywave propagation. So now we are moving on to propagation of radio waves through the ionosphere. We need to derive a relation that is we need to derive a relation to find out the refractive index of the ionosphere, so that we need to know whether the wave is reflected back. Okay, so here we are having some of the assumptions. We are assuming that ionosphere contains ions and free electrons, and assume that mass of ions is very high compared to the electrons. We know that. So the radio waves passing through the ionosphere is influenced mainly by the presence of free electrons, because ions are having very high mass. Its ionosphere contains ions and free electrons. When a radio wave passes through it, it sets the charged particles, that is ionized free electrons, in motion. Ions and free electrons in motion. Since mass of ions are higher than mass of electrons, motion of ions can be neglected. So, radio wave passing through ionosphere is influenced mainly by the presence of free electrons only. These electrons vibrate along the path parallel to electric field of radio wave, and vibrating electrons represent an AC current proportional to the velocity of the vibration. As a movement of electrons will represent a current, this movement of free electrons due to the electromagnetic waves can be considered as an AC current. So, consider an electromagnetic wave whose electric field is given by E equal to Em sin omega t volt per meter. This is equation number 1. So, this electric field is Em sin omega t volt per meter. So, omega is the angular velocity, Em is the amplitude. So, this electric field acts on the space in the ionosphere. The ionosphere where ions and free electrons are present, and we are only considering free electrons, motion of free electrons, because the ion is having more mass, so the motion will be minimal, but the free electron is having very low mass, so the motion is considerable. So the electric field E equal to Em sin omega t. So due to the electric field, and force will be exerted on the electron. That force is equal to, we know that force is equal to charge into electric field. So here charge is minus E. So the force will be minus E into E Newton, where small e is the charge of electron. So let it be equation number 2. We know that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, mass into acceleration is dv by dt, where v is the velocity. So considering the electron, m is the mass of the electron, v is the velocity of the electron. So minus ee, that is force is equal to minus ee from equation 2 equal to mass into dv by dt. Rearranging, dv by dt equal to minus e by m into electric field E. That is dv by dt equal to minus e by m into capital E. So our intention is to find v, that velocity. So dv equal to minus e by m into dt. So how do we find the velocity? By integrating. Integrating both sides, we can see that v, velocity v equal to minus e by m integral capital E dt, where capital E is the electric field. We have seen that we have assumed that electric field E equal to Em sin omega t, where Em is the amplitude, omega is the angular velocity. So velocity v equal to minus e by m into integral em sin omega t dt. So em is the amplitude, which is the constant, so we can take it out of the integral. So minus em by m into integral sin omega t dt. Integral sin omega t is minus cos omega t by omega. So the velocity v of the electron is em cos omega t by m omega, where e is the charge of electron, em is the amplitude of the electric field, omega is the angular velocity, m is the mass of electron. Okay, let it be equation number 4. If n is the number of electrons per unit volume, that is number of electrons per cubic meter, that is the electron density, then instantaneous current density by these electrons with velocity v. How can we find out? Current density equal to minus n e v. Current density IE is equal to minus n e v. Minus is due to the charge of electron is negative. N is the electron density. E is the charge of one electron and v is the velocity of the electron. Okay, so IE is practically the conduction current density. It is because this current density is due to the electrons, so it is a conduction current density. This current density IE equal to minus NeV, ampere per meter square. IE equal to minus NE into V, velocity. Velocity we have found out that it is Em by m omega into cos omega t. So the conduction current density IE equal to minus of NE squared by m omega into Em cos omega t. Let it be equation number 5. Okay, next we need to find the displacement current density, not only due to the effect of these free electrons. There is another current density arising due to the unionized air. Okay, in unionized air there will be a current density due to the electric field. We have studied in electromagnetic theory that there will be a displacement current density. That displacement current density is given by dou d by dou t. I hope you remember. So let this displacement current density IC be dou d by dou t. IC equal to dou d by dou t. We know that d equal to epsilon E. D equal to epsilon E. So the medium is air, so epsilon equal to epsilon 0. Epsilon 0 equal to 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter. So IC equal to dou d by dou t equal to dou by dou t of d equal to, we know that epsilon 0 into E. We know E equal to Em sin omega t. So epsilon 0 Em into dou by dou t of sin omega t. Dou by dou t of sin omega t is cos omega t. So IC equal to epsilon 0 omega Em cos omega t. So let it be equation number 6. So now we have displacement current density and current density due to the free electron, which is the conduction current density. So total current density I equal to IC plus IE, which is displacement current density and the current density due to electrons. That is epsilon 0 Em omega cos omega t minus n E squared by m omega into Em cos omega t. Take Em cos omega t as common. So we can see that I equal to Em cos omega t into epsilon 0 omega minus n E squared by m omega. Take omega also common. Em omega cos omega t into epsilon 0 minus n E squared by m omega square. Let it be equation number 7. Now we have equation number 6 as IC equal to epsilon 0 omega Em cos omega t, and equation number 7 I equal to Em omega cos omega t into epsilon 0 minus n E squared by m omega square. Please compare these two equations and we need to find out effective dielectric constant. So by comparing equations 6 and 7, we can see that the effective dielectric constant coming in equation 7 is K equal to, instead of epsilon in equation number 6, in equation number 7 it is coming epsilon 0 minus n E squared by m omega square. That is, instead of epsilon 0 in equation number 6, we are having epsilon 0 minus n E squared by m omega square. So the effective dielectric constant K equal to epsilon 0 minus n E squared by m omega square. Taking epsilon 0 as common factor, epsilon 0 into 1 minus n E squared by m omega square epsilon 0. So the relative dielectric constant epsilon r or Kr equal to K by epsilon 0, that is 1 minus n E squared by m omega square epsilon 0. So we know the relation between refractive index and relative permittivity. So refractive index is equal to root of relative permittivity we have studied in electromagnetic theory. So the refractive index, say we can denote it as mu. Don't confuse it with the permeability. So refractive index mu equal to root of Kr equal to root of 1 minus n E squared by m omega square epsilon 0. So now we can substitute m, e, epsilon 0, omega, etc. Mass of electron we know m equal to 9.107 into 10 power minus 31 kilogram. Charge of electron is 1.602 into 10 power minus 18 coulomb. Epsilon 0 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter. Omega equal to 2 pi f. By substituting it, we get the refractive index mu equal to root of 1 minus 81 n by f square. Okay, now we can see how a wave reflects back through an ionospheric layer. So from the equation, the relative refractive index, that is the refractive index mu equal to root of 1 minus 81 n by f square. So n is the electron density. So as the electron density increases, we can see that refractive index decreases. So we can say that As we go up to the ionosphere, so first layer is D, then E, F1, F2. In the earlier class we have seen that the electron density keeps on increasing from D, E, F1 and to F2. So the refractive index of this layers goes on decreasing. Okay, that is one point. So consider the ionosphere. So let one layer is having a charge density of N1, the next layer N2, the next one N3, and next one N4. Okay, so N1 is a layer with minimum electron density. N2 is having slightly more, N3 furthermore, and N4 the maximum. So from a transmitter, an electromagnetic wave is transmitted towards the ionosphere. So it will reach to a point P where it meets the ionosphere. So N1 is the charge density of the first layer. So we know that N1 is low. If N1 is low, then by the equation we can see that the refractive index will be high. As the electron density decreases, so for N2 refractive index will be a bit less, and for N3 the refractive index will be further less. Okay, so from moving from N1 to N4, so moving up we can see that the refractive index goes on decreasing. As the refractive index goes on decreasing, the wave bends. From moving from denser medium to rarer medium, the wave bends. And at a point PM, we can see that the ray bends completely and it is reflected back to the Earth surface. So this is the principle we are making use in the skywave propagation. So from the equation, the refractive index mu equal to root of 1 minus 81 n by f square. In the ionosphere, the bottommost layer is having a charge density of N1, the next layer N2, and next layer N3, and next layer N4. So we have seen in the previous class, we have seen that the charge density goes on increasing as height increases up to the F2 region. So what happens is that the wave reaching the point P, the refractive index for the region with charge density N1 is low. So the wave starts to bend, and from further N1 to N2, the refractive index is further less. So the wave keeps on bending, and after reaching the point PM, it reflects back to the Earth, and thus we get a skywave propagation where we can have a range more than the line of sight, which is corresponding to the space wave propagation. So by using skywave propagation, we can have higher range. So comparing to ground wave and space wave communication, skywave communication is having higher range. The frequency range we can use in skywave is in HF, mainly in HF. Beyond that, that is VHF, UHF microwave frequencies, the waves will not get reflected back from the ionosphere. Rather, it penetrates through the ionosphere. Okay, thank you.